Now, frankly speaking, what we've seen playing out today has been a work in progress now for some time. Take a look at what really has been the story of the Aam Aadmi Party now over the past few months. First, it was Captain Gopinath. He was one of the first people who spoke out against the economic policies. He spoke out in May 2014. Shazia Ilmi then decided to hold a press conference and chose to attack Arvind Kejriwal, accuse Mr. Kejriwal precisely of the same points which are being now made by Yogendra Yadav. Ashok Agarwal, again Mr. Agarwal accused Mr. Kejriwal and the others of running some kind of a coterie. He was followed by Maulana M.A. Kazmi in April 2014 when the elections were taking place. Mr. Kazmi accused the Aam Aadmi Party central leadership of literally being a drawing room of sorts. Madhu Bhaduri, in February 2014, she was the first one when she accused the Aam Aadmi Party leadership of not being looking after the interests of women. Vinod Kumar Binni, well, Mr. Binni perhaps was upset with the fact that Mr. Kejriwal was not giving him enough political clout, was not including him in the Council of Ministers in Delhi. Surajit Das Gupta in November 2013. The bottom line is this, that everyone is accusing Mr. Kejriwal of being a dictator and someone who is only and only looking after his own vested political interest. Therefore, the big talking point that we raise is the Aam Aadmi Party literally beginning to unravel under its own weight, under its own pressure. What exactly has gone wrong with Arvind Kejriwal and his supporters that we're now wondering whether the Aam Aadmi Party is collapsing? And joining me tonight to answer that big question here in our studios, DJ Chaudhary, senior journalist and someone who's been looking at the evolution and now I don't know if I should be saying the demise of the Aam Aadmi Party very closely with us. Saurabh Bhardwaj, leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, former minister in Delhi. Madhu Bhaduri, former diplomat, former member of the Aam Aadmi Party. Vani Tripathi, representing the BJP, and Santosh Desai, CEO of Future Brands. Welcome to all of you on the show. Saurabh Bhardwaj, I must begin with you. And I was just looking closely, Saurabh, at this graphic which you just played. The man who was famously described as Chanakya by media commentators for the Aam Aadmi Party, Yogendra Yadav, today is accusing your leader of being a dictator. Now your leader's supporter, Mr. Manish Sisodia, is accusing Yogendra Yadav in turn of trying to hurt the interests of the Aam Aadmi Party. My question at the outset today, Mr. Bhardwaj, is this. One of these two individuals is lying. Either Yogendra Yadav is lying or Manish Sisodia is lying. Who according to you is a liar here?
Okay, I have had my own chances of, meeting and working with both of these leaders, whether it was Yogendra Yadav or Manish Sisodia. And I found that, both these leaders are pretty good human beings. And I think there may be some difference of opinion, and it has come out very openly in media. So the party is trying to, cope up with certain things, and it is a very natural thing which is happening in our party.
So Saurabh, may I just come in? May I just come in? You're trying to make light of the question that I'm raising, but this is not this is not a frivolous question that I'm posing. It's not as if that I'm giving you a question which is based on some kind of judgment or interpretation of mine. No, this is based on fact. So let me read out what Yogendra Yadav, because you're using this line that it's nothing else but a mere difference of opinion, perhaps two leaders looking at things differently. But look at what Yogendra Yadav says today. He is accusing Arvind Kejriwal of being a dictator. Look at what he says. He says there is a difference between a leader and a supremo. Love and affection for a leader often turns into a personality cult that can damage an organization and the leader himself. And he's saying very, very clearly, Mr. Bhardwaj, this is what appears to be happening to our party. Now my question is, has Arvind Kejriwal simply moved too fast and too much ahead of himself? Is that what's really happening here?
No, I must say that I'm happy that such discussions are happening in a party, and it helps the party. Although it may earn us some bad publicity that we may get anyways. So, but it is good for a party that we are having all kinds of discussions on the party forum. And if anything is going wrong in the party, this national executive meetings, these are the forums where we want to address such issues and rectify things, and it's happening in the party. So I don't see anything is wrong.
So are you then saying, Saurabh, that both these points of views, the point of view which is being expressed by Mr. Sisodia, where he accuses Yogendra Yadav of hurting Arvind Kejriwal's interests, is right, and Yogendra Yadav is also right, where he's accusing Arvind Kejriwal of being a dictator?
No, I am not saying this. I am saying that these are the opinions of these two, big leaders of our party.
And therefore I am asking you, that which opinion is right? I mean, surely both these opinions cannot be right. How can they coexist? But you happen to be you yourself are saying that you worked with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That I'm not the one who is, judge and who can, judge somebody that he is wrong or he is right. There is a National Council and they are deliberating on such issues, and probably after 3 days they'll be able to come up with some decisions.
Okay, so you are unwilling to tell us exactly what's going on or who stands where between these two leaders. But Madhu Baduri, let me come to you, because you were, if I remember correctly, Madhuji, you're the first one who really blew the whistle in a sense and made the Aam Aadmi Party workers look inwards, and everyone was then trying to ridicule you that Madhuji is, crossed a thin red line. I remember Yogendra Yadav himself came out so many times in the studio and said that Madhu should not have done what she's done. Now look at what Yogendra Yadav is doing. What exactly is happening in the Aam Aadmi Party according to you, Madhuji? Is this a case where everyone now is beginning to look at the reality of Arvind Kejriwal slightly differently now?
I think this is a serious challenge. It shows something very serious in the party, and I don't think it's a question of personality clashes, Naveen, Jai Hind and Yogendra Yadav and so on. Let's begin from the beginning. Arvind Kejriwal is actually the organizer of this party.
Right.
He's not only started with, he's a past master organizer, and he started with organizing the India Against Corruption movement. You will remember that Anna Hazare was the leader, but the entire organization, the credit went to and should go to Arvind Kejriwal. Then in 1 year's time, he raised this party, which raised the hopes of millions of people actually. And then what happened? When the organization had reached this very, very strategic sort of height, then he resigned. Just when people in Delhi, Delhi gave him a tremendous mandate, and just when the people in Delhi, his well-wishers, his supporters, his voters, they expected him to give good governance, he resigned. So he actually gave a jolt to the credibility, his own credibility amongst the electorate.
But why did he do that?
Second thing,
why did he do that? When you say that he gave a jolt to his own credibility, why did he do that? Oh, he was convinced
to go in.
Was he convinced, according to you, that he could have become, say, a serious contender to the post of the Prime Minister himself?
Well, I don't know about Prime Minister, but he certainly thought that the party could go into the Lok Sabha elections and that they would make some dent. I mean, it would be too much to say that he expected to be Prime Minister. No, but certainly he expected that, and therefore he resigned.
Okay.
And then what happened? I think this is where what is showing now in the party.
Okay.
Because what happened during the Lok Sabha elections, they had many candidates all over India, more than the national parties, the Congress and the BJP. And then the entire machinery and the organization of the party was moved from Delhi entirely to Varanasi to fight for Arvind Kejriwal. Everybody else was left in the lurch. There was no financial support from many, there was no organizational support.
And you believe that was a wrong move? You believe that move came out completely of Arvind Kejriwal's own ambition. But Neerja Chaudhary, the point which is being made there by Madhu is simple. There are 7 questions being raised by Yogendra Yadav in this 2-page email which he has circulated to his colleagues. And then there are some fundamental questions which are also being raised by Manish Sisodia. Now, Neerja, Manish Sisodia is accusing Mr. Yadav of being someone who is only and only interested in looking after his own interests. It's almost as if that Yogendra Yadav wants to be projected as the face of Haryana, and because now he's realized that the performance of the Aam Aadmi Party has been so poor in Haryana, he's trying to damage brand Kejriwal. What really is going on here between Yogendra Yadav and Kejriwal?
You know, what's going on is what happens when a party gets defeated, and they obviously hope to do much better than they did, even though they are a 1.5-year party. You see, the knives are unsheathed elsewhere also, where defeat has happened. In Aam Aadmi Party, I think it did not transit from a movement to a party. It has its feet in both grounds. So, the kind of allegations that we are hearing, I mean, very, very, very unfortunate, because Yogendra Yadav measures his words very, very carefully. You know, he's not a man given to making loose charges
at all. And therefore, when he writes this kind of a letter, and when he uses words that, that Mr. Kejriwal is almost becoming like a supremo, that he's now becoming a personality cult, and he's accusing him of not looking after, you know, development of mechanisms within the Aam Aadmi Party?
See, I'd say this, Bhupen, that is the Congress a democratic party? Is the BJP a democratic party? Is Mulayam Singh's party a democratic party?
But ma'am, then Aam Aadmi Party stands precisely contrary to all these views.
Yeah, that's the point. Is Akali Dal a democratic? None of them are democratic.
So what are you suggesting, that the Aam Aadmi Party is following the same track?
No. The genesis of Aam Aadmi Party was different. The expectations from Aam Aadmi Party were different. Hence the kind of reaction that, you know, Madhu Bhadri came into this party, Yogendra Yadav came into this party, Anand Kumar came into this party, Rajmohan Gandhi came into this party. They came into this party and not to any other party. Why?
Okay.
They expected this party to do something very different.
Santosh Desai, the expectation that the middle classes had of Mr. Kejriwal. I remember that, you know, we ourselves were looking at Mr. Kejriwal as some kind of a rival to Narendra Modi in the months of December and January, and look where the Aam Aadmi Party is today. What really has gone wrong for the Aam Aadmi Party according to you, Mr. Desai?
Well, I do think that it's fundamentally the fact that the core of the Aam Aadmi Party was really the fact that they were an agent to channelize the anger and the utter disenchantment that was felt by urban India, a lot of the middle classes, against the political establishment. And as long as they did that, and as long as they focused on the key issues that were of interest to this group, I think they managed to garner tremendous public support. I think the biggest problem was their unexpectedly strong showing in Delhi Assembly, which suddenly thrust them in the roles that they were unfamiliar with, that they were unprepared for. They were not ready to run a government. And then everything that has followed, the scaling up of political ambition, the sudden, vaulting into being a political party without any structure, processes, or ideology for that matter, economic policy or the rest of it. And they found themselves the victim of their own success, their own ambition. And I think today the problem that they face is that they cannot put the genie back in the bottle. There is a disastrous, they would never expected to do tremendously well.
Right.
Even the analysts never gave them more than, early double-digit seats. But they've done much worse. And much worse, I think what has happened is that the fundamental engine that they had, which is the support of people, they have lost because they've spread themselves too thin and taken on battles that they could not possibly have won.
Let me put this direct question therefore before you, Santosh. Do you believe the Aam Aadmi Party today faces a serious danger of unraveling, of coming apart, layer after layer? As we're seeing these leaders coming off, is this a case of the Aam Aadmi Party also coming out layer by layer?
Yeah, I'd put it this way, that the idea that it represents, I think it has still a lot of merit, but the party itself is in danger today, is in danger of coming apart.
And therefore, Vani Tripathi, let me get you to respond to this, because I know the more I speak to BJP leaders, the more I get this great sense of glee that the party which is supposed to be their principal opponent in Delhi suddenly is now confronted with this kind of a dilemma. Do you believe that the Aam Aadmi Party still remains your adversary number one, at least in Delhi?
Bhupen, the proof of the pie is in its eating, and as a political opponent I could gloat and feel very happy on this whole debate happening that the Aam Aadmi Party is unraveling, but I will not indulge in that kind of a emotion today. What is very sad and what is playing out as a political discourse for the Aam Aadmi Party is that the very faces who were the public imagery of the party seem to be miffed today, and they are warring amongst each other. But let us deconstruct what has happened with the Aam Aadmi Party, and when I say the proof of the pie is in its eating, the 49-day debacle of Delhi, that itself should tell you that the flash mob mentality which was coming together as a movement, and do not get me wrong when I say flash mob, of course, when you have opinion making and you get widespread support, you do start believing and start indulging in understanding that you are probably, going to rule the world and you're going to change the world. But let me remind you that when the BJP was just 2, it took us several years to come to a 40-something. To be a provocateur, it is one kind of politics, but to take it beyond that, get control over the organization, you know, bring people together, even if there are differential opinions, you know, there should be some kind of convergence point. That is what seems to be lacking.
Okay.
And one thing I would disagree with Neerja ji here is,
yes,
BJP has internal democracy, and that is what keeps our cadres together, and that was the political.
This is not about the BJP. I want to look at the Aam Aadmi Party.
As far as the Delhi experiment
yes,
as far as the Delhi experiment, Bhupen, just let me complete. Let me complete.
Yes, please, quickly.
Let me complete.
Yes.
Bhupen, the whole experiment of the Delhi governance model collapsing for the Aam Aadmi Party, that itself was the disarray point, and they should have paid attention to it, which they do not today. And it's very sad to see, you know, this unraveling business that we are discussing today on your debate.
Saurabh Bhardwaj, I'm sure that you're picking up this deep sense of disappointment. Maybe for some it is anger, for some it is resentment, which is being expressed against the Aam Aadmi Party today. Saurabh, you know, the kind of points which are made by Arvind Kejriwal, where you were literally accusing everyone of being a liar, of being a cheat. The media was a cheat, media was sold out, the political parties were cheats because they had their own vested interests. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, why am I not seeing any statement from Mr. Kejriwal? I know that there is a 3-day national executive meeting. Can I expect Mr. Kejriwal to come up with some kind of a statement setting the record straight in terms of where does he stand to that question which I am posing before you? Who's lying, Mr. Yadav or Mr. Kejriwal?
I'm sure, you know, if he will have something for media, he will come before media and talk to you. And I do understand that there are, you know, vested interests, and now those vested interests are investing a lot of money even in media. And I have no, you know, qualms, you know, saying that, you know, that there is a section of media which is biased against Aam Aadmi Party.
You see, I don't get this.
Sorry.
That is my no, sir. That's my objection, sir. That is my objection. You see, your two leaders, your senior leaders are writing out these kind of letters in public, and you're accusing the media.
Let me just finish.
Yes, please. Yes.
Let me just finish.
No, I just want to bring the factual point. That's all.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Let me tell you. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
There are a lot of good things also which are happening because of Aam Aadmi Party in the Delhi politics. Like there were Mohalla Sabhas which were done by 27 of our MLAs, where they are talking to people in their constituency how they should spend the MLA funds. But unfortunately, you know, we don't get prime time coverage for good things. But whenever there is, you know, any controversy, anything which is negative, it is, you know, all day in the media. So I, as a common person, even if I am not a politician, even if you ask a common person, everybody is, you know, kind of doubtful about these things. That why is it that anything which happens negative to the Aam Aadmi Party,
right,
it's all day on the TV.
Okay.
And why is it that nothing positive about Aam Aadmi Party?
No, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. You see, this is a typical style of the Aam Aadmi Party, I'm sorry to say, which has been resorted to by your leaders. Every time a question is asked out of you, you try and shift the goalposts. You say the media is biased against us. Now here I am reading out contents of letters which have been written by 2 of your founding members, you know, by Mr. Sisodia and Mr. Yadav, and you are telling me that the media is sold out. Sir, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way.
Have read
No.
Advani's letter, Mr.
Yes.
Advani's. You could have read Mr. Advani's letter.
So therefore, are you comparing yourself to the BJP? Are you comparing yourself to the BJP?
No. I am saying no. I am not comparing myself to BJP.
So are you as good or as bad as the BJP then, Saurabh Bhardwaj?
Just one thing. No. What I am saying is, if there is Mr. Jaswant Singh who is annoyed with his party, he is not invited into the television studios. But if there is Vinod Kumar Binni, he is in the television studios for at least 1 month. So
sir,
why
because you try and project yourself as holier than thou. No, you try and
so
put this facade about yourself. No, you try and put this facade about yourself, Mr. Bhardwaj, that you believe in doing public referendums. You say that you take every decision on the basis of public referendum. I say, why don't you? So will you therefore do a public referendum then on whether Mr. Kejriwal should continue?
Let me tell.
Will you do a public referendum?
Bhupendra ji, let me tell you what you are trying to do. We are trying to bring in an alternative politics in this country, and we may fail. You know, we may fail, and we may have our own, you know, limitations. But what you are trying to portray, that there is no scope of alternative politics in this country.
How am I doing that?
And they are a failure. So you just want to paint it like that.
Okay, let me bring
I am requesting to you is
yes. No,
what I am requesting to you is that this is a new kind of politics we are trying to bring in, and we are not, hardcore politicians. We are like professionals in our own life.
I know. Saurabh, you and I are more or less of same age group, and I'm sure that you must have observed politics for as long as I have, though your party is only a year and a half old. But let me say this, what you're saying that you're trying to present an alternative politics, let me say that what is going on in the Aam Aadmi Party is something which has been going on in every political party that you can think of, whether it's the Congress or the BJP, and therefore my question is that what's the difference between the Congress and the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party? But DJ, having said that, there is the other way to look at this also, that when the going was good, journalists, corporate tycoons, everyone was running for the Aam Aadmi Party. Now that suddenly things have gone wrong, whereas Santosh Desai was pointing out, they have not perhaps measured up to their own expectations, these kind of questions being raised. But the fact that it's Yogendra Yadav who's raising these questions against Arvind Kejriwal, does this make you believe that there is an existential dilemma today in terms of which way the Aam Aadmi Party should be going?
I think it's a very serious dilemma. I wouldn't say the bubble is burst, but it bursts in the process of bursting unless something corrective is done. And yet, I would also look at it that way. Today, you can have a Yogendra Yadav take on Arvind Kejriwal and raise those existential questions. Why are you a dictator? In other parties, that is still not happening. And I think since so many people have raised that fundamental question, the attitude of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, my way or highway, has been questioned. And I think this is something he will have to look at squarely if he is serious about building a party. And let me tell you this also, Bhupen. I went to Banaras and I was quite surprised with the large number of people who took to him on those 25 days. And he'd taken on somebody as popular as Narendra Modi. And they said,
he got 2 lakh votes.
They said in the future we will vote for him. Many people said that, but he needs to mature more.
But that's the key. That's exactly the point that I keep highlighting.
Delhi, they still have the support of the Jhuggi Jhopdi. They still have the support
of Mr. Kejriwal end up overplaying his card.
Therefore, it's very critical what happens to Aam Aadmi Party in the next 2 days. Will they take this criticism squarely or will they find alibis?
Madhu Bhaduri, what do you make out of this? What do you believe? That is it possible for Arvind Kejriwal to come out, take it on the chin and apologize to the people? We keep asking for apology from every political leader. What about Mr. Kejriwal? How do you think he's going to respond to these questions being raised?
It's a question of apology. I think the party has to get to the root of it, and the root is that yes, public has been disillusioned, but much more what has happened now, or what we are seeing today, or what you call unraveling, is that the party's credibility is lost within its own cadres, within its own volunteers, its people. It's not only Yogendra Yadav who is raising this question. If you speak to the volunteers and the workers of the Aam Aadmi Party, there is disillusionment there. And this is a serious matter. This is what is. It is not a fight between Naveen Jaihind and Yogendra Yadav and Arvind Kejriwal. It is really the loss of credibility of all of them put together.
But is it not the loss of credibility of Arvind Kejriwal? I mean, when you say loss of credibility of the Aam Aadmi Party, it begins with Mr. Kejriwal, no ma'am?
Definitely. Mr. Kejriwal is the party. Let's face it, Arvind Kejriwal is not the face of the party. He is the Aam Aadmi Party.
Therefore,
and Manish Sisodia's letter to Yogendra Yadav clarifies that. Because any attack on Arvind Kejriwal is an attack on the Aam Aadmi Party.
So therefore Saurabh Bhardwaj, why are you shying away from accepting this fact that Mr. Kejriwal, who Mr. Yogendra Yadav also admits in that letter, certainly is the face of the party, Mr. Kejriwal has made that cardinal mistake perhaps of being too convinced about the kind of powers he has. And therefore I am saying that can I expect a direct answer from Mr. Kejriwal over these next 2 days, maybe by the time your national executive meeting comes to an end, in terms of what does he think of all these allegations being leveled against his style of leadership?
Yes, you can expect. I think he is quite friendly with the media, and while he was chief minister, I think he used to talk to you almost regularly. And if there is anything, he needs to answer, he'll definitely talk to media.
You think he can change himself? Do you as a worker of the Aam Aadmi Party, do you believe that Mr. Kejriwal needs to change his style of leadership, his own style of functioning?
Let me tell you one of my personal experiences. I was in his cabinet as a minister, and whenever we have cabinet meetings, all the decisions, were taken by all our cabinet ministers. And sometimes, Arvind used to explain it to, few of us that this is, because we were very new into politics, he used to explain it to us that this is what we are passing and this means it is like this. Do you think it should be passed? And we used to say that yes or no.
I love the way, Mr. Bhardwaj, I love the way, you're trying to make light of these very serious issues which are being raised here against your party. But I do hope that someone within your party is certainly looking at these 7 questions very, very closely, which have been raised by Aam Aadmi Party, by Mr. Yadav, as well as the questions which are being raised against Yogendra Yadav by Manish Sisodia. But Vani Tripathi, you were raising your hand and you wanted to make a point to the response which was coming there. My point to you, Vani, is that isn't it true that this kind of letter writing, if an LK Advani could question a Narendra Modi to this extent and yet be sharing same parliament with Mr. Modi, then what's the difference between what Yogendra Yadav is doing to Arvind Kejriwal?
Bhupen, as I said, that the whole journey of the Bharatiya Janata Party is a toil of several decades and not just a year and a half of impatience. And when I say this with responsibility, being a national office bearer, because there is internal democracy in the BJP, people talk to each other and it also gets out and we talk about it, but yet there is a camaraderie, there is a sense of belonging towards the cadre, towards the organization. Also, let us look at the Aam Aadmi Party and the symbolism it is representing as far as the politics of our time is concerned. What is the choice of seats that they actually highlighted? It was Amethi, it was Varanasi. I mean, is it about symbolism, that the kind of politics they wish to do, or the lip service that they've been doing on governance and the paranoia of calling everybody dishonest in the system?
That's the whole point. Let Saurabh Bhardwaj respond. Let Saurabh respond, Vani.
As far as their own
Saurabh,
shenanigans are concerned, they'll have to answer.
The point being made there by Vani Saurabh Bhardwaj is an important point. And I was alluding to that a short while back, that this tendency of the Aam Aadmi Party of dubbing everyone as crooked, as corrupt, as sold out, from politicians to corporates to media. Now when serious questions are being raised, what am I seeing? I'm seeing Arvind Kejriwal is getting into that blue Wagoner of his and moving away. He doesn't want to take those questions. Yogendra Yadav was asked those questions. He said, no, I'm not going to say anything in the media because, well, his letter is already out there in the media. Why should you not be accused also of being, when you use the word hypocrite to describe other political parties, why should that word not be used against you, sir?
Yeah, I think everybody is free to have opinions about people, parties and others. But what I must assure you about Aam Aadmi Party is that Aam Aadmi Party still stands for, alternative politics, still stands against corruption, still stands against crony capitalism, and that were the, core issues for which Aam Aadmi Party was formed. Yes, we are politically immature, we are new, we are professionals from different, walks of our lives. Everybody was a big personality in their own right. So they have come together recently as a political party, and there may be, such differences of opinion. I'm sure they shouldn't have come in a public, arena like this. But yes, we are able to, we are trying our level best.
Would you say this is an act of indiscipline? Would you say, Saurabh, this is an act of indiscipline? Since you are comparing yourself, say, to the Congress and the BJP, let me say that, if this would have happened, well, who knows? Maybe this would have been interpreted as an act of indiscipline, not necessarily inner party democracy.
I think it's a journey of evolution. We are evolving.
Okay, you're evolving. Since you're evolving, Santosh Desai, the Aam Aadmi Party is claiming that it is evolving. But Santosh Desai, let me put it this way to you. The way I look at evolution of Indian politics, and since we're talking about the evolution of the Aam Aadmi Party, there really have been three and a half master narratives, many would say. There's secular nationalism, Hindu nationalism, and then justice for lower castes and regionalism. The Aam Aadmi Party was attempting to go beyond these narratives. Do you believe that 1.5 to 2 years in their journey, do you believe the Aam Aadmi Party perhaps has faltered and it needs to step back and needs to figure out what really it stands for and which direction it needs to go in?
Yeah, I think there is no question about the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party has faltered. I mean, that is obvious, it's clear for everyone. But the narrative that it represents, the fourth narrative that you spoke of, I think it's a powerful emergent narrative, and it's a narrative that must be heard eventually, because it represents, I think, a very strong opinion of a significant number of people. And it is a narrative that is not being catered to by any other party, including, or even if you were to look at what the BJP represents today, a fundamental overhaul of the democratic system of democratic processes and a redefinition is not something that is on the cards. So I think this particular desire that people have, this disenchantment, what is in some ways a blanket kind of a rejection of political parties and the fact everybody is corrupt and but part of that is actually a public perception. And the sense that, for so many decades we simply have been mute witnesses to the fact that a political party and politics has been played out in a certain way, and there is a reaction to that. I think that narrative continues. The party's ability to harness it, I think is a huge challenge today.
The party's ability to harness the narrative. But in conclusion, Neerja Chaudhary, if I was to put it this way before you, that the biggest strength of the Aam Aadmi Party is Arvind Kejriwal, and today Mr. Kejriwal is also turning out to be the biggest weakness. Is that the dilemma for you?
Yes, I think that I agree with Madhu Bhadri that here is a very courageous man who took on the high and mighty. He is the organizer, and he is the one who is the most controversial element today. But I go back to it is not yet a party, it's still a party in the making.
It's still a movement. You believe it somehow straddles between a political party and a movement?
Yeah, I do, because that transition is very, very difficult to make, and I think the Aam Aadmi Party has not made it. But I also, I feel personally very saddened, because the Aam Aadmi Party for a large number of us represented the beginnings of something new, a new kind of politics that many of us
And you believe, do you feel crestfallen? I've spoken to many analysts on this program, and many say that this is almost like the end of a dream. I mean, it's almost as if your dreams have come crashing down. Because maybe at the end of the day, this was all about power, and maybe we looked at it differently.
I think they were catapulted to power just too quickly.
Too quickly. Okay, catapulted to power too quickly. Santosh Desai, Neerja Chaudhary, Vani Tripathi, and Saurabh Bhardwaj, Madhu Bhadri, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of India at 9. Bottom line.